Good evening, everyone. It is Delenn Russell. I'm sorry for being a little bit late. I got into working on one of the redeems and completely spaced on what time it was. My bad. I'm really sorry. Anyways, we are just kicking around this evening and working a little bit on making the monastery / Abbey walls get taller and taller and taller, and that's, long story made short, that's really all there is to it. So let's just jump right in. I'll show you where we got to so far. I can't remember what I wanted when I was over here. I'm sure I'll remember while I'm over on the other side. But I'm just going to double check to make sure I've left... Okay, it looks like I've got everything I should possibly need, so let's make it happen. Frame rates today are being a real pain, but that's because I'm working... It's because I'm working with Litematica. It's a great program or add-on to work with, but unfortunately it's not very nice on your frame rates. So I'm just going to show all for now, and this is what we've got going. So I gave this a bit of a flyby yesterday and wanted to show everybody where I was at today, so we can start to see that some of the walls are slowly making their appearance. And now I just realized what I forgot. That's okay. We will get there. Okay, and I put the wrong things in, but that's alright. We could fix that. So this is more or less what it's going to look like. I'm going to change the towers towards the end, but I kept them in there because I'm going to use that design on top of the center portion here. So yeah, it's helpful to have that piece there. And that's basically what she wrote. So let's get back into just getting to work on it. Config, single layer. Yes, there we go. As I mentioned, I've added a bunch of geekout redeems, and some of those are, well, for lack of a better term, some of them are starting to loop a little bit, but I think we could still make it work. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Fine, that's okay. Mistakes can be dealt with. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. I'm going to start by crashing into a wall, apparently. Wow. Derperific. What I was originally intending to do was come on over here, fall off things, apparently. Wow. I'm really batting 1,000 at the moment. Get those rockets out of my hand. They're dangerous. Where am I here? Okay, slash Twitch enable. Not that there's anything going on the server. At the moment, I think I've got the server to myself, which is nice in this case. Let's see if I can get... Again. There we go. Now we're in. Alright. So what I wanted to do was actually pull down this portion of the ceiling. This particular bit I was actually just touching. Probably will have to stay as it is. I have to see what it looks like from above. So I'm going to zip out through the roof. Yeah, so I have to take out all of this, I think. Let me just see what happens with the ceilings. Nope, okay. So the one piece I touched is the one that I don't need to, but this section through here I do need to remove. So I've got the wrong layer in there. Now I had changed it on purpose, and then I had to change it back again, and yeah, weird story. But anyways, it turns out that this bit is the bit that's wrong, not that row. So yeah, just oopsed on that one just now. Great. But what had happened was, why... Oh. Why I had put in the wood in the first place, and why it also says it's wrong, is that I changed up... Oh, come on. Short one? What did I do with it? I changed up part of the roof because I wanted it to be the polished deep slate instead of being the oak that it was originally done as. but in doing so, it changed all of the slabs throughout the whole building. And so, yeah, I screwed that up, which means that I need to fix it by changing it back to the other stuff, but it wasn't an easy fix. So I just decided, rather than fussing with it...
Thanks for taking...
Excuse me just a second. Why? Excuse me just a second.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Fantastic Sherlock Fox just got back from the shops because we have a unexpected dinner visitor, and accidentally didn't put two and two together. In any case, where I was going with that was to say that I had made the change. I need to change it back because I wanted the roof part to be slabs, but I wanted the ceiling inside here to be the spruce slabs instead. It's been an interesting day, we'll just say that. This morning it was scout stuff right before stream. This evening it's silly foxes. Oh well. Alright. I will need more pieces for that one, so I'm just gonna grab that. Now, let's see if I could fly out of here without hitting a wall. Because, you know, pretty bad at these things. Alright. Where did I put the extra slabs? Fox bomb!
Hello.
There's some. Hello, Fantastic Sherlock Fox. That's okay. You're the only one here, so it's all good. What was I looking for? Spruce planks don't turn into planks that way. I think we're okay with just this many. Let's get back to work. And I didn't pick up... I didn't go and pick up the plain stone while I was over here. That was the other reason I came back. I can't seem to think today. Alright. So we were derping around doing these things. As you can see, the next level is on its way up. We haven't finished it yet. Boop. And I wanted to get that floor fixed because it was bothering me that I had messed it up. But I guess from the outside, it's not going to be so useful. Yeah. So this particular monastery does not have an entrance from this side. Okay, let's try not to crash onto things we don't intend to crash onto. Or through parts of the stuff that's just a... Wow, hanging on by my toenails. Things that are just a schematic. There's the missing one. Alright.
Hello.
Hate to burst your bubble, but unfortunately English only please. It makes it a little bit easier for us to moderate if need be. But hello and welcome aboard. Right. What are we doing here? I'm just working on a bit of monastery. Oh, thank you very much. That should have popped up follow alert, but it looks like it didn't. What happened to my alerts? Oh. If I turn them off, of course that's going to help. Silly me. Chat overlay. Live. Okay, that should be working. Don't know. Cross my fingers. Alright, so we are working on Dadcraft73's Java server, and I am using a Lightmatic to put together... Oh, did I do those ones wrong too? What am I looking at? I'm looking at this double... We don't need to double the slab. I don't think so. I'm putting together the monastery for this building, and it feels weird because I'm not doing this level right. And then up. I'll have to figure out what it was I messed up as we go along, but in any case, Even though you're using emotes, let's try and keep it clean, please. I'm a family-friendly streamer for a reason. Thanks a million. So what brought you in? Always curious to meet a new face and learn how they found us. What I do here is I'm playing on Dadcraft73's vanilla-based Java Minecraft server. And just chilling, I guess, is probably a better way of putting it. Oops. Except for that piece is wrong. Although you do see quite a number of quality of life mods, and that's just because I like to play with a little bit of assistance. I tend to get lost. No, thank you. I do not need those guys. Ow! Fine. Be that way. I don't like badums. They're just a pain. They interrupt what I'm up to. I'm less concerned about the emotes, provided that they aren't ones that have cuss words in the emote. Or as the little yellow dancer unfortunately did. Alright. So how is it that you found our channel, and what made you interested in stopping by? I'm always curious. Aha! Burn, suckers! I can fly, but for a lot of the game... oops! Not only do I oops, but I also choose not to. I don't claim to be an expert at this at all. So I play just for fun, and that may or may not be to your taste. It's, you know, everybody's different. Oh. Kind of hard to place glass. I did it again. Kind of hard to place glass when you don't have any. Let's go with these. We'll drop those. Okay, and what else we'll drop? I'll drop this for now. No, I don't need these either. Really? Fences. Okay, stone goes back in this box. Fences go in that box. There we go. Well, I mean, it may or may not be to your taste. You're welcome to hang out and or lurk, up to you. It's a little quiet at the moment. Tends to be a bit smaller around here. But we do our best to just enjoy. Basically, part of the reason I started streaming was because I figured that I wanted to play anyways, and wasn't too fussed if people were watching or not. But I figured if I was going to play, I might as well stream, because, you know, it's one of those why not moments. And I have a Google Home in the background that's being a bit of a pain in the backside.
Grandma is at the doorbell.
Because we have sudden company. Just something had happened today that's causing us to have sudden company for dinner. So, yeah. Where was I going with that? Sorry, a little distracted. But just to say that, yeah, I would play anyways, so I started streaming because different people said they wanted to see, and different people just like chit-chatting while we play kind of thing, you know? So if they've got nothing better to do, then they just hang out in the background, and that's cool. Or something. Every once in a while we have conversations and so on. But it's generally pretty chill around here, usually. I mean, every once in a while I'll get onto a rant of sorts, Or we'll play a game such as Geek Out, which is just a game that brings up topics, and people try and see if they can actually guess the right number of. So, like, I don't have right or wrong answers, but things like 6 different, music bands that I don't know whose last names, or pardon me, who have a singer that starts with the last name that has the letter like P or something. Odd, bizarre stuff like that. And so that's the kind of silliness we get up to around here. Mostly I just play Minecraft. I have played a series of other different games, but it's usually just Minecraft. Partly because of mistakes like that. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Lurks are welcome if that is your thing. If not, I'm pleased to note that you dropped by and chose me out of the random pile. Probably off the recommended list. And thank you very much for your cooperation. What kind of chocolate do I like? Actually, that's a fun question. I'm not usually particularly fussy about my chocolate. However, if we're going with something like Cadbury, Cadbury would be a good one I like, but I prefer the European Cadbury, so like the ones you'll find in the UK more than the US. If I'm going for specifically American chocolate, then I'll go for Hershey. For no other reason than they've bought up the Cadbury brand in the US. You like these sorts of things, yes. Hershey has bought up the brand in the US, and so what they've done with it is they made it not as tasty. I wonder if that's intentional to try and get better sales of the Hershey branded chocolates overseas by ruining the overseas brands in the US, but that's just a guess on my part. Let's see, favorite color, probably purple. You'll see an awful lot of purple on this stream. There's a few other oddball colors, but usually purple's my favorite. Though I don't tend to wear a whole lot of it. And while I mostly don't talk about controversial topics, every once in a while I have I'll do something that's got an interest related to it, where someone has gone and said something ridiculous and caused people headaches over it. So yeah, one of those things happens. Let's see. Favorite movie, that shifts a lot, but I will back that up by saying my favorite books, or one of my favorite book characters right now, are the medieval monk Brother Cadfael in a 20-book series by Ellis Peters. They haven't made movies out of it. It was a multi-hour long episode. Second favorite, though, would easily be Sherlock Holmes, in which case you can generally guess just about any movie with that character in it. Most recent ones people are familiar with is probably the Robert Downey Jr. series with Game of Shadows. But yeah, not everybody likes that character. Certainly something one can do with their points. I'm also into Lego. I usually build Harry Potter themed Lego. There goes your controversy part. But to go with that, when people want to, sometimes they redeem 5 minutes worth of a Lego Harry Potter build in lieu of watching me build in Minecraft. But I've just started in a community points challenge that people can dump excess. Thank you. That people can dump their excess points into. That would get me to build a fairly large, over 1,000-piece Lego set on stream. Thank you very much for the hydrate. Everybody hydrate, it said, so you can too. Close this one off. Close that one off. I will certainly eat, but that's an eat for in-game, so I'll hold that one until I actually need to. Yeah. So while we're waiting, let's throw up a geek out and see if we happen to have anyone that pops up for that. Okay, so the way this works is if we can, the game, if you were playing it offline, would want one individual player to name that stuff as best they can, like up to the quantity listed. But when I play on stream, that's our target goal, is to get the number of items listed. And clearly it's easy to cheese it by Googling. Hopefully we won't have to. I'm just trying to figure out with this one, where did I put the line? Okay. Hopefully we won't have to cheese it by Googling, but it is a possibility. And then, right, I'm just a little distracted because I missed some blocks here. And then that geekout redeem can be done, or just geekout command, let me correct that, can be done every 5 minutes if people wanted to. So that means that we have about 5 minutes to struggle with the one on screen, and then if we're getting nowhere with it, someone can put up a new one. Or if there isn't one running, someone can put up a new one. And that geekout is not limited to just the moderators, even though I did use it. But it's the but anyone in stream can use that one. Usually, thus far, it's been I can talk straight. It's been the moderators that have used it. As I said, anyone can. I can't at the moment think of a film that takes place specifically in Ireland, so I'm going to have to leave that one hanging. So we may not get so much traction on that particular one. What's this? Oh, stairs. Right. Okay. Page down. So just a filler material, so let's put up... I have... As I'm going with the medieval theme, I'll go with the wood, but I'm going to just stick in the filler blocks. Because this was one that the tower was never properly finished. Alright, let's sleep before I get more phantoms. Don't love those guys at all. There we go. What else have we got going we can do? There is also a hangman game available for points when one has enough. Or, pardon me, a hill champion. In both of those cases, though, the difficulty is that it's not as well, the hangman game comes from a large database of words that are not all game related. So there's a lot of randomness in there that seems to be very unrelated to the game. Oh, I missed a few, okay. Just dirt blocks, so I wasn't too fussed about getting it right. But I guess since I've got the supplies, I might as well. And up. Once again, this is stairs inside the tower, so I'm not particularly fussed because I'm going to be doing something different with the tower once I get it built. Oops, not this one. Go. And this will have a landing on it, it looks like. The different colors are transparent blocks I have not placed yet. The blue ones are more of the hasn't been placed, but just makes it easier for them to see. And then the red ones are ones where it thinks I've placed the wrong block, and sometimes that's intentional. And if you see ones that are orange, it just says that they're in the wrong block state, which means that maybe they're facing the wrong direction, or a gate's closed that really needs to be open, or something along those lines. This one. As long as I'm in the easy place mode, as long as I've got the blocks in my inventory, then they will place when I click on it. And I'm choosing to use this way, even though it's kind of cheaty, because otherwise I would be here for a lot longer. I'm not the world's fastest block placer, partly because I tend to fall off walls. It just, yeah, not good, this whole staying on the wall biz. At the beginning of stream, I was doing a lot of flying around and crashing into things, so definitely perma-noob, we'll put it that way. What sorts of games do you like to play, if you've got the time to tell me? I know you said that you had church as well. Or what other sorts of Twitch-style material are you interested in? Activities, topics? Like, some people like crochet, some people like cross stitch, some people, you know, there's all kinds of things. There's actually a gent that I follow who loves to game, but he also loves cross stitch, so he's working on a very large counted cross stitch project where he's doing, as far as I understand, I think it's a version of a Nintendo 3DS unit that has a custom map picture on it and a game scene that never actually existed, but he's doing it as a cross stitch anyways. Let's see. I can throw this up and confuse everybody. Oh, let's see if it goes on top of each other. I haven't done this in a while. Ooh, I got both. Okay, good. So, does technology simplify life or make life more complex? I will say hands down, it makes life more complex. However, I wouldn't necessarily give that up. It may seem strange, but I like the way the complexity has improved our lives, in addition to making it easier in some places. Things like, for example, as a parent, I like the fact that now that my son has a phone, if he's going to be late coming home from school, then I can expect that he's supposed to text, just to let us know. You know, it's from a generation prior to cell phones, therefore, or at least prior to the mass spread of cell phones, let's put it that way. Therefore, it was kind of annoying that I had to stop and make sure I could get access to my, the phone at my friend's house or payphone or something like that to tell my parents where I was at and roughly when I was expected to be home. And it was difficult to give updates en route.
Hello?
Hey, Crafton Mama, how are you? You always surprise me when you come in, and I'm pleased by it. Spoiled, but pleased. Just in that I see you guys less and less and less, just because I'm actually trying to make progress on one of the two servers, and as life gets busy, you gotta make choices. But how has work been for you lately? It sounded like you had to go into the office recently. Oops. I'm mucking around today with working on an Abbey or Monastery for the medieval monk theme that I had going. And so I'm working with a schematic that I pulled off of Planet Minecraft and building it as is to start with, and then we'll change it up to be more accurate to the location, the town/city of Shrewsbury in England that's inspiring my base this season, or the fictional version thereof, I guess. And but it was just easier to build what someone else had designed that was close enough to begin with, and then change up things that I felt were necessary. And in all honesty, if I get to that point and I go, this is close enough, I'm done with this project because of whatever, then I'll just leave it. But I'm actually enjoying it. But how have you been keeping, and what have you been up to? Oh, I'm out. Out of blocks. I was just telling someone else in chat about having fired up a new community points thing to see whether or not people wanted me to do a Lego build on Twitch, or whether they were hoping I would do it elsewhere. Like, as in, at some point it's going to happen one way or the other, but it was just whether I did it on Twitch or whether I saved it until I could figure out how to get myself set up for YouTube. And yeah, that's the latest and greatest from here. Hey Joe, how you doing? Wow, all the awesome people are coming in today. So I'm trying to do the math in my head. Give me a sec here. Cheaty on my part. Okay, so I'm going to bet that you're at work. And I want to say, if you need to lurk or disappear or whatever to get work done, Joe, go right ahead. I totally would understand. But I haven't had a chance to say hello since I spoke to you on the weekend, I guess. I'll admit, I've had some pretty nasty allergies recently, and I thought it was a cold coming on just because it started with a sore throat, but I think it was just the allergies. You know, sometimes they like drip down the back of your throat. And so that was rough, but allergies, when they stuff up the sinuses and ears and things, I tend to get really fuzzy-headed, even if I'm not taking meds for it. So, sometimes I say and do things that, it's not like a drunk mistake or anything like that, but it's just, I don't always remember what I've said to different people when I've had multiple different conversations, particularly when it's in their streams. So, yeah, confusion all around. But it sounds like all my fine friends who have day jobs have been pretty busy at work lately. I don't know what it is. It just seems like April has taken off and gone a little wild. But everybody I've talked to said they've been busy. And we've got a scout camp coming up this weekend, and one of the other leaders going with my son's section was saying that, yeah, it kind of caught her by surprise. She hadn't really realized that time was slipping away and that things weren't planned. And so they've got menus, but that's about it. Thankfully that he's at a section level where most of the planning is supposed to be done by the kids. But last week, oh lordy, in that meeting, to get them to plan anything would have been totally pulling teeth, so we just sort of gave up on it. Did our best, but we said, okay, you guys need wide games, and you need to be prepared to get dragooned into singing stuff at campfire. Like, yeah, we're fine with that. That's good. Let's go play outside. So, whatever. We decided we weren't going to argue with them because it just wasn't worth our time as leaders to worry about that. Keepers. It seems like I'm getting mildly frustrated with this one. What has happened here is I've changed up some of the blocks. I think I mentioned this earlier. I've changed up some of the blocks because I had changed the roof. So it had been all oak wood, and I didn't want it to be oak wood. There we go. So I tried to change the roof to polished deep slate, but it went and changed all of the blocks in the building that had been the same oak squares into polished deep slate, which is not the look I wanted. So I caught some of it to change the design back, but some parts I've missed. And so I'm just having to catch the various blocks as we go by. Yes, actually it is. This is the same world. Oh, haha. Lovely. I'll stay up here. But this is definitely the same world. You can see that the scale comparison between the two buildings is completely out to lunch. So yeah, the castle should actually be, I would say if not bigger, but definitely far over placed from the monastery. Like, this thing is a lot bigger than I'd expected, but it's necessary. For the scale, I mean, really it's the focal point of the main theme because our character is a monk, number one. Even though he spends a lot of time up at the castle with the sheriff of the area. Beyond that, it's just fleshing out the medieval town. So there'll be some more zones to go with the monastery. I will quickly bring up a version of the current sketch map. Where are we looking at? Abbey sketch map. There we go. So, yeah, I got it chopped a little bit. Just the way the game cuts things off is a little wacky. OBS. Sometimes I want to kill you. But anyways, the church you can see is roughly the same shape. So I found one that looked similar. And then we've got, you'll probably not be able to see it there, but to the left, there's some of the text that says, you've got a mill pool, the mill itself, we've got a court, there's a great hall for guests. And just off the edge of that cut-off section, the southeast corner, there's an abbot's lodgings. So the guy who would run the whole place, so to speak. Big boss. And his come on, oops, what did I just do? Oh, I tried to screenshot my screen. That's not gonna help. There we go. Nope, that still cut it off weird. Whatever. But anyways, the point is that I've got a bunch of additional buildings to add to this one. At the moment, oh, well that would be why I have to sleep, because I'm the only one that can. Alright. Well, it's a good thing I have rockets now. Yeah, it's based on a 20-book series, so I had hoped to include in the town section some more of the sort of specifically named buildings. So for example, I'm pretty sure there's something like Martin the Glover, although I may have made that up, in a fan fiction that I had done for the series many, many years ago. But there's a few named buildings that they discuss, so I'm going to have to take a look at the big CAD file companion book I've got and see what sorts of buildings are actually specifically laid out, and then do references to those. And this guy, along with that guy and all the librarians, hopefully once we get the Abbey piece built, I'll move all of them out there. And weirdly enough, I'm actually going to try and intentionally get some nitwits to use as just like the generic lay people that work at the Abbey, because they don't need jobs. And then all the actual clerics and monks and stuff will be played by the clerics, and more likely the librarians. Good, we're starting to get to some of the roofing. Yay! This zone, we don't have a tree in here yet. There's supposed to be one. But it's the central courtyard of the monastery, and it would be known as a cloister. And I should not have climbed up the cloister wall, because that's the one piece that's not attached to anything else, and my... Oh, okay. I was saying my parkour skills are generally weak, but hey, I made it this time. And strangely enough, I did manage in my quote-unquote research, because this is the book series I'm using as a reference is based on a historical version of a real place, using quite a number of real names and real locations, that I actually did manage to find things like someone else's research on the standard layout for a Benedictine monastery or abbey. So that's part of where this design choice came from. The sketch that you saw there was actually based off of what someone had thought the book described, so we're not that far off. But that's why I'm not too bothered about the scale, is just that it's all a book series anyways. Last season, for Captain Mama's benefit, my base theme was, once again, mystery, but it was just a variety of references to various mystery characters that I really quite liked. I never did get as far as doing one for Agatha Christie's Ms. Marple, but that was just because I couldn't quite figure out how to reference that. The character has been played by enough different actresses in television and movies that there really isn't an iconic way of referencing the character that one would recognize. I did do a version of Hercule Poirot, though, because he was sort of known for his mustache and so on. And it was mildly funny because when Dadcraft went to tour the base, he had a horrible, horrible time trying to pronounce the name. And it's a bit of a gag on my part, running gag to just about every season, try and find some reason to encourage him to name something named after that character, just because it bugs him. He has a horrible time pronouncing it. In all honesty, I wouldn't want one, but only because I think it would be a lot of work to maintain in a way that would do it justice, make it look good, and not look scruffy, I guess. So that's why I don't mind that I don't have one. But I heard it's just odd timing, so I'm only going to comment it on insofar as timings, that I heard that from a youth the other day, who probably won't have a mustache, but was wishing they could. And yeah, with the way things are going these days, who knows? Maybe they will someday. I don't know. But it was just interesting that I happened to have heard that close together. A dolly mustache. Oh, yes. One of the ones. If you are ever into old movies, Hercule Poirot's mustache has been done that way once as well, particularly by a gentleman named Albert Finney, when he was doing a version of rather high-strung, wound-up version of Poirot. He had quite the mustache with a little curl on the edge, and had a couple of spots in the movie where he would play with it and just coil the end of it. But he made a big deal about waxing it, and they gave the character what looked like an eye mask for going to sleep, except it was smaller and purposely designed to sit over top of his mustache so he wouldn't mess his mustache up while he slept. That wasn't for the actor, that was the character. Oops, wrong way. Yeah. Or, if you're familiar with the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, that style of mustache reminds me a lot of the villain they had in there, Mr. Smiley Whiplash. As strange a name as that is, yeah, he had a quite the notable mustache as well. I wish I remembered who voiced him, because that was pretty interesting. Yeah. Part of what made me think about it, actually, was we've got a Geek Out, as you're aware, except this one has expired, so let's put a new one in there. Why do I keep getting the choice? Jeepers Creepers. I've had choice about 3 times today. 3 or 4 times. Okay, so what I do when that happens is I take the original dice that comes from the box, and I roll it. Now, in the original dice, it's got the same 5 colors you see listed there, but 6, instead of being choice, it's blank. Like, it's just a white. And they say, that way you get to choose. But because I do this enough, I'd rather not choose. Okay, we're going red. So, exclamation G, red. Okay, so our topic in this case is name 4 actors who have played a recurring film role at least 4 times. So, when one plays Geek Out, it wasn't meaning to derail it that badly, but when one plays Geek Out, all kinds of weird stuff from a blast from the past come out. And so I was putting in some of the Geek Out, I guess, answers or questions, Geek Out categories into the bot this afternoon, based on the Geek Out games. So, for example, we should have the cards handy. So I've got the Geek Out Pop Culture Edition. Ooh. There we go. And on each of those, there is 5 different categories. So we'll just do that in front of my head, and then it should stay close enough. There we go. So 5 different categories, and I was writing each one of those into the colors so that they would come up correctly on the program. So I was seeing all kinds of things, and it made me was thinking of all sorts of things. Now, the only caveat they make in the rules, I'm just going to pull up the sheet to make sure I'm reading it correctly. So in the rules, it actually does say that, where is it here? Goes. I'm trying to figure out the exact rule, but basically it says if there's a franchise with more than 1 film, then you can only name it once. So Jason Bourne would be a definitely good character. So it doesn't have to be several different characters, but you couldn't necessarily name each one of the people who was in all of those Jason Bourne films, because it's kind of covered off once. For exactly the purpose that Fantastic Sherlock Fox just stated. But you're right. Yes, that's a great one. He knows how to hit my hot buttons. But another one, I mean, you could name, basically, you've got Harrison Ford. Now, I've named him once, but he could have been, if we were allowed to go multiple times, I could have used him more than once, because I was thinking initially Indiana Jones, but then there's every one of the Han Solo versions, which would have only been three attempts at it, had they not been silly enough to use him in the Force Awakens Star Wars reinvigoration, I guess? It's probably the only way I could think about calling it. So it's that one. Now Mike Myers has played, for sure he's played Shrek. Yeah, they've had 4 of them. And Beings is Red, it's supposed to be films, but I'm well aware that Shrek has had more than 4 voiced by Myers in all of them. If you count the television series as well. So, I mean, one could equally say that Eddie Murphy gets one for Donkey. Yep. I was actually waiting to see how long it would take you to come up with that one, Joe. If this were not a family-friendly stream, I would very clearly delve into my reasoning behind why I think Keanu Reeves might be your get-out-of-jail-free card. And if you're curious about that, just message me afterwards. But, Harry Moss from The Matrix and Lawrence Fishburne. Good point. Good point. So we've easily exceeded... Pardon me, we've easily exceeded the 4. Oh, like, why can't I go any further? Well, because I ran out of blocks. Okay. Yes. No, I would have waited till you said I haven't got anything, or that you seemed legit super duper busy, before I would have said that one for you. Iron Man, for sure. Exactly. I know that somewhere else in the deck there is a question that asks about different actors playing the same character. So, for example, Batman is one that comes up easily for that category. So we can easily say that that's a possibility. But wasn't what the question was this time. This is the other way around. Let's go with this box first. Nope. On the corner? Sure. There we go. Found it. It's like hide and seek with your materials. Okay, what am I going to run out of next? Going to run out of the... Pardon me, the bricks. There we go. Let's see if I can get up there again without smashing into something. Hello, piggy. Ow. Well, not too bad. Okay, having one of those "where was I" moments. That's fine, that'll do. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was asked if he would actually do more Sherlock Holmes films, and he basically said no way. I had heard at one point he was going to, but then yeah, he said no way, because he said he didn't really like the way he did the character. Which, while not one of my favorites, he's one of the few that's actually done film-length stuff, so I can't really argue. And I liked his style better than I liked Basil Rathbone, so yeah, no. One of those things. Okay. Get the 4 corners and then I'll get into the black ones. Wonder what happened to find Mr. Zerk. Busy, as always I expect. Starting to get into the roofing this, so the black tiles should be correct, even though they weren't below. Still not sure what to do with that back corner. We'll have to see as more of the roof develops, which parts need fixing. And I might have to do a DC special tree. Diecraft73 has his favorite method of making trees grow tall, the oaks particularly, where you stack up 4 blocks, I guess 2 spaces away from... Oh. Alright. Stack up 4 blocks, 2 spaces away from what you thought you were going to... where you want your tree to be. And then when you put your sapling in, then you've got beside that a 1 block gap, and you fill that up all 4 blocks with a... what's the word? I know the word. It's there somewhere. You fill it all up with torches on all 4 of the blocks. And that way when you bone meal the snot out of the poor sapling, it's got no choice but to go taller than the stack of 4 blocks with torches before it puts out leaves. Which is fine. And it does come out more commonly organic shape up top. But it does seem to me to be a little bit of an overkill attempt. Okay, let's put these back. Actually, let's see if I can get there. They'll have a little bit more space. All right. And I need some more. I'm gonna run out of this soon enough, but that's okay. That will do for now. I have a source. My source just hasn't been on, but we could probably get that sorted out in the next couple of days. All right. Think I've got everything I could use? Okay. Hey, I didn't land in the wall. Nice. I flied, and I actually flied. Normally I fall. Okay, I was working on the cloister, but I might as well finish off this wall because there's not much to it. This layer of wall, I should say. Come on. Alright. Back to the central zone. Ow! Well, I fell anyway. Why not? So does anyone have any plans for the remainder of the week and or the weekend coming up that they're looking forward to? I know that on the Dadcraft 33 channel it's going to be Wednesday, which is always a highlight of his community. But aside from that, I mean, I mentioned I've got Scout Camp with the 8 to 10-year-old section as well as the 11 to 14-year-old section at the same place. But beyond that, what does everybody else have on tap? If you know, that is. Some people just go with the flow and try to have no plans, and then it becomes plans as they arise. But what have we got? At least 4. Oh, yeah, okay. You've been working on a resin end table. Wow. Your daughter and you collected flowers and pine cones in the neighborhood to add to it, and you're stoked just to work on it. Cool. So, with the end table, I'm curious. Are you going with like a preset shape, as in square or rectangle or oval or something? Or are you going with something semi-organic to make it look sort of like a large piece of wood? A round mold. That's kind of cool. I would love to see pictures of it once it's closer to complete. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I bet you that the pouring the resin is probably going to be one of the more challenging elements, is my guess. And the reason I'd say that is that I would expect... Ooh. Hey there, Neon. Good to see you. Ow. Once again, Del can't jump. She has no hops. Where did I put? Oh, no. It's got to be in here. I put extra scaffolding in somewhere. Now I can't find it. Oh well. Alright. I would love to see pictures of that. I was thinking that it might be a little bit harder to get the resin poured as a way of oh, it's okay, enjoy the pool. Have some fun time there for me. You know, just relax and stuff. But I was thinking it might be difficult to make sure that you don't get bubbles in with the resin, as long as, I mean, maybe that's something you want, but it makes it more challenging to try and see what's going on in the end table, so I'll be curious to hear how that turns out. Okay, oh yeah, this is the one where I was asking myself when I saw it being built. Or not built, sorry, when I saw the roof. Why did they put in a skylight? It makes no sense. Not very medieval, as far as I know. Although, now that I think about it, actually, I think I know why it's there. I think it's meant to represent the possible smoke release hole that they would have had in the kitchens. In one of the houses in the castle, I referenced that by just leaving a hole and then covering it over with sort of like a rain shade, for, just as a trap door. So maybe this is the same sort of vein. That would make sense. And I mean, the glass would have the look without necessarily having the functionality required. Oh, there we go. And I just discovered a did you know. So apparently, when you're putting in slabs, the slabs come in 3 different types. Don't know why, but they're calling them types. One's a bottom slab, one's a top slab, and then apparently double is also one of the options. I was today years old when I learned that. Okay, let's do a quick run around and see if we've missed any other spots. I was slightly distracted for a second there by my Go Live bot just now referencing. But I think it's just because it took Discord forever and a day to bother updating. Okay, so I don't see any blue over here. I only see the tree. What did I miss over there? It's probably a torch, is my bet. Either that or I missed one block. Ow! So apparently there's a bit of a hole there. Ooh. Yeah, so you've already dealt with coating them so that they'll deal with the water better. Ah, okay, that was instead of... This is like a random stairs in a tower that I'm going to need to remove anyways. So I'm not too bothered. Come on, easy place mode, go away. I like easy place mode for a lot of things, but when I'm trying to just randomly fill stuff that I know is going to get changed later, I don't really need it to be telling me off like that. Ow. Derp City. Ooh. Well, those are not my favorite guys. It's probably a good thing I didn't get them coming at me in the night. Yuck. Yuck. Okay, while we're here, are there any supplies I need to update? Probably not. I've got enough to do a few more. So we can go up a level. Rinse, repeat. Just a quick reminder for those of you that are interested in alternate activities during the stream. We do always have the Hangman game is still around, and we still have the Hill Champion, which is one that Fantastic Sherlock Fox loves to set off for us once in a while. We also have new Geek Out categories, which I think we're probably due for a new one. The Geek Out category has a 5-minute timer on it, but sometimes I pull streamers' prerogative if it's one that it doesn't seem anybody in the chat knows anything about. So, but we did manage to do a good solid answer on the currently running one. Yeah, so giving you guys a quick idea, I've got a tiny pile left. That's it. And I've got, what did they put in the box? probably triple this already put in. So we should have a bunch of new, hopefully won't be turning around. The current one says, what do we got here? Name 2 British actors who've played an American character? Okay. What's, oh, yes. Sorry. That's what happens when I power type. I don't always get the spelling correct. My apologies. I was mentioning earlier the number of times that I've had a pause over whether or not to make color with a U or not is quite high. Very good one. Yep, that's not one I would have thought of. Perfect. You, Lori, for house. I can't put my finger on. I know Michael Caine's played a few, but I can't put my finger on them. One could argue that Patrick Stewart, with all his X-Men work as Professor Xavier, that was a definitely American character. So I think actually it's an American character, but they let him keep his British accent, so it's kind of not really. Like, that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah. And as sad as it is, oh, actually, no, I was wrong. I was just about to say Emma Thompson doing Beauty and the Beast, but no, actually, that they let the teapot stay British. What color are we talking about here? We are in movies. Okay. Unless they've made a Stranger Things movie, technically that one doesn't qualify yet. Soon, but not yet. Because I'm sure somebody will make a Stranger Things movie at some point. That's one of the funny things about this pop culture category, is that it's a little picky over movies versus books and TV shows. And one of the things I noticed during inputting a lot of the questions into the system is that it seems like the same question comes up over and over again, but it's actually more that they're asking the same question about a different format. So you might get a question about movies, and then later on you'll see something that looks almost identical because it's about TV shows this time around. I mean, I guess there's probably a number of actors and actresses that we probably wouldn't necessarily realize were British, and that's really where a lot of the trouble comes in. And in case you're curious, there is a question in the database somewhere about American actors playing British characters. So the lines kind of cross a little bit these days. I mean, not just in Canada, but we're finding more British shows actually getting traction on American channels. And you're finding more characters that might be in an American program, or in an American program, but that the character themselves is still allowed to remain British, or remain British sounding. For example, in the Batman movies, it's very... they allow Michael Caine to be doing a British Alfred Butler type thing, even though it's not directly specified in the comics what Alfred's nationality is. I mean, it's often stereotyped that that the butler would be a British thing, but it's not necessarily the case. Because, I mean, you can't tell me that say, for example, the Hearsts or some of the other major families in the US didn't end up having American butler staff. And technically, the presidential staff has them too, although they're not called that because A, it's supposedly an outdated term, and B, it's actually a position in the government, so they have some other fancy schmancy title for it. I remember reading what it was at one point, but I can't remember. I don't pay as much attention to that one simply because the Canadians, we just can't get our backsides in gear to figure out whether or not we're going to let our Prime Minister actually renovate his own house such that he can actually live in it, because it would be on the populace's dime, even though it's an official job and an official residence. It's just a whole ball of politics that I'm not going to get any further into, but at least that's why I don't pay too much attention to the American system. We got enough strangeness up here that we can homebrew our own strangeness. Let's see, what else? British actors put American characters in movies. Trying to think now. Do you mind if I ask what state you're in? If it isn't too forward a question. We do get snow. You've heard me gripe and complain about a lot of it. Okay, yeah. Well, I will say, depending on where you live in Canada, even if you get sheer quantity of snow, there are a good number of places in Canada where the snow you get and the air going with it is much drier than the snowstorms that they get in New York. Because New York has that awful, what I call East Coast snow, where when you get cold, you stay cold. Like, there's just no way around it. You stay cold. Whereas, in other parts of Canada, I mean, you're cold. Yeah, we are definitely cold. But the drier air, I really do think, is a bonus. Why did I make that one? I've got a weird hodgepodge. This should have been wood. Oh well. Fix that later. I have a lot of fix-it-laters, but I need to figure out what to do with the second stairs. Now, this is definitely supposed to be wood, so I was dumb to put the wood away. Oopsies. Yeah, we joke about it in Canada, but I'm not actually kidding when I say there are portions of Canada for whom they have what's known as storm chips. I don't know if you've ever heard of the concept before, but there are sort of like custom flavors of chips made in smaller quantities by more local chip companies in Eastern Canada that get bought up in mass quantity when the weather reports say that there's a storm coming in, because people want their chips and beer if they get snowed in. Not something that would have been on my radar, but no accounting for taste in some places. New York has had a really rough run, but the whole Eastern Standard seaboard, yeah, seems to be getting terrible weather. I recognize the book reference, Sherlock Fox. Eastern Standard Tribe was a really interesting concept. Anyway, the Eastern Seaboard seems to get weird weather. You know, the sort of thing where, like, you head to bed one night knowing there's a storm coming in, and the next morning you're up to your second story windows in snow, and you don't have a hope in Hades of finding your car for like a week at minimum. You know, I would not want to be a bus driver. We've seen pictures of people who still, they got the plows through, so the buses had to go, but then like for school, but they had to dig out the buses, and in order to dig out the buses, they dug out more than 10 feet of snow. It's like, don't you think you just call it a snow day and keep on going? But that's not the way it works. What is this? I'm kind of curious why this one thinks... Oh, that's why it thinks it's in the wrong state, because there was no window beside it. There we go. Alright. Yeah, West Coast in Canada, we kind of scoff at them a little bit because some of them think they've got snow. They get to be like 7 degrees Celsius above freezing, above zero. And, oh, whoops. Let's go west. Hello, can I apply, please? Oh, lovely. They get 7 degrees or so above freezing, and they get a little bit of sleet and slash, and the whole city shuts down. Just because they're not used to it. Yeah, they just don't know what they're up to. Welcome back, Krusty. Oops. And I got the edge. Yay! So yeah, I like where I live. We get cold, but we get dry snow cold, and so it means that when you actually put on extra layers, it's worth it. Whereas if you live on a coastal area and you get snow, even damp rain or whatever, damp rain sounds funny, but when we're talking about like adding extra layers, and the moisture in the air is just so much that it sinks in, and you feel cold anyways, just feels really rotten. 29 Celsius last week, whoa, that's a really weird inversion. I hope you guys aren't suffering like headaches and stuff to go with that, because that would be awful. So what was that in Fahrenheit, roughly? Like, I know it sounds crazy, but this early in the season, my brain doesn't want to accept that there is such a thing as temperatures like that. Ooh, you're not kidding. Wow. There we go. I mean, I didn't think you were kidding before, but that is quite the shift. So it wasn't just a math mistake. Well, at least it's not below 23, because that would just be nasty. I'll be honest, I know it sounds funny, but I think I brought the snow and the crummy weather. The reason I say that is that our Scout group has a bad habit. It's not even, well, clearly it's not intentional. But was it last year or the year before? Fantastic Show Fox will know when we talked about it. We joke about it at camp and vehicle, like, the annual little vehicle rallies and stuff. But our Scouts went camping in the last few years, and easily 2/3 of the camps have been snow. The worst year in the last 5, they had 9 camps over the course of the year. This is like throughout the year, including July and August. 7 of those camps were snow at least 2 inches deep. So, yeah. We just don't have the world's greatest track record. Yeah, I'm going the other way. So I figure when they say spring, fall, snow weather, or sorry, spring, fall, camp weather, and they're telling the kids, bring stuff to stay dry, it might rain on you, I usually try to tip my kids off a little bit and go, by the way, because your mom's a leader, we can hide snow pants in the truck. Or and we haven't had to use the snow pants yet, but we have dug out the snow boots once or twice. On the other hand, I made myself a promise, and unofficially, it was part of a joke, that one of the other leaders jokingly asked me to promise them not to get dehydrated at camp again. Because the last camp I was on, I did that and had to come home. Because it was cold, and then it was unsafe to have me being one of only 2 leaders for our group on site that was, like in charge kind of thing. And I had gotten dehydrated to the point where there was concern over whether or not I might not be necessarily making the wisest choices. So we pulled up stakes and left the camp early that night and had to come back the next day to get our gear. But, yeah. I had first aid with the person who had been the camp chief that time. And the joke was a little bit that when we did our first aid, one of the scenarios you do is just a practice, and you have to have different people pretending that they're sick with one thing or another. And he handed me a little bit of a like a lip balm jar and said, "Yeah, be liberal with it and just pretend that you're going to have hypothermia symptoms." And I just laughed. And he paused for a second and he goes, "Oh right, yeah, you already know this one." So it was kind of funny. So, yeah, you don't need to practice what to do. You were the other person. It is scary though. Yeah. And the worst bit is I don't like being cold. Never have. Like, I go and do things and people say, well, why do you go if you know the weather's going to be that cold? The whole point was it was a winter training camp to train about winter camping. So the best way to learn it is to be there, right? And when you're in a big group, people can watch out for each other. And that's part of how we decided that it was not safe to stick around. Now, my son had been cold the night before. And, like, had I taken care of myself properly, I probably would have been fine the second night. Particularly with some of the gear that he had chosen to leave behind when he left earlier in the evening. And so, I should have been fine, but I just didn't take care of it properly earlier on. And then once you get sick, you're not really going to be in great shape till later. But we didn't have to go as far as the old-fashioned style where, you go home and you stick him in a bathtub and all that jazz. It wasn't that big a deal. Like, I was able to drive one of the other kids home, who's a friend of my son, outside Scouts. So we already were family friends, and that's how I got to take him home, because I got grilled a lot before I left just to make sure that I'd be okay to get home, and we had some sort of rules that if X had happened, that I was to stop driving and give somebody a phone call. It's like, yeah, we didn't get that far, but I was glad that we had those sorts of safeties in place. So it was kind of neat. But I would like to do a winter training camp again, just be more prepared, and this time if I have to, I'll rent gear. Part of it is that it was designed to be a backpacking camp. Well, I had, not really a backpacking camp, yes and no, I guess. How do I explain it? It was designed to be a camp where you're self-contained as though you're backpacking, acknowledging that not everybody knows how to do that, and the idea being that by next year, people will know more about backpacking in the winter, be more prepared for it, so they can do a single night overnight, and then the third year that they do like a 2-night overnight. But there's plenty of groups that go out and just do the walk into site part of it, and they never do go out further. They don't do the overnight portions. So, like the overnight away from base camp. So that might be my cup of tea, but it'd be nice to know that I'm prepared to, have a half-decent weekend so that I'm a little bit more with it to be able to put up with the kids being whiners when they are correctly dressed and just complaining about things because they can complain. Or doing dumb things because they can do dumb things. I know kids will do silly things, and the kids will be kids and all that, but if you're going on a camp in the winter and it says, like you've been trained, you should be wearing socks. Do not bring any socks whatsoever for a Friday night through Sunday morning camp. Makes me kind of wonder what planet your head was on when you were packing for camp. And it wasn't even one where the kid thought their parent, who was also a scouter, was going to bring socks for them. They just didn't think to bring socks. So what they ended up doing for most of the weekend was they borrowed some of their dad's socks, which of course are a little too big, but better than nothing. And then part of the weekend, because they didn't have anything major planned anyways, this person was sitting around the campfire with their feet tucked into the fingers of like some of those dollar store stretchy gloves. Not necessarily the smartest move there. Needless to say, they've never done it again. They also love to tell the story, so they're not offended by it, but it's just kind of one of those things where you go, Ella, are you serious? Yeah, I get teased for being overly prepared. That's my biggest flaw when it comes to camping, is that I'm over prepared. So as in, I'll give you a quick example. I was the mom, back in the day, who, because I was in Scouts and I just happened to have been given as a volunteer thank you gift a small pocket first aid kit, I was the mom who had the first aid kit at the playground when the kid fell and scraped their knee. Crying or whatever. I was the one who went, the kids are not going to bring enough spare socks. They never do. And so when my kids would grow out of socks, or even sometimes if they weren't using all of their current socks, then I would bring a few extra pairs of their socks with me in my gear until, COVID said you can't do that. But then we found a way around it. You can't share gear business because our restrictions were saying we had to be outside if we were going to be in person. Because we had experiences where kids don't do Zoom meetings all that well. The older they get, the better, but the younger ones in particular don't. So as soon as we got clearance to go and do in-person meetings again, we did. But of course, people have to dress for the weather, and kids don't always do that, or they get wet, and their parents had said, I told you to stay dry, so they didn't send enough mittens and stuff. So what we found out as a way around it is that we had one scout leader who would take up some of the lost and found mittens and stuff, wash them at home, and then put them in their household, what do you call them, like the veggie vacuum sealer packages, so that then they were guaranteed that the stuff had been healthy, and it was all packed up healthy, so there was no way that they could transmit anything to the kids. Brainiac move there. Which works really well because, come on, jump, fly. Okay, because I'm inside, there we go. Oh, well, watching the spiders on the corner of my screen there going, stay away, please, thank you. So, we found our way around those sorts of restrictions. I mean, technically we weren't supposed to, but the system over the course of time had changed such that our, what they call group commissioner, was allowed to basically do a lot of approvals. And he's like, yeah, I know that really means it'll be on my head if anything goes wrong, but some of the restrictions about not being able to do things, like you'd have to send your kid home as soon as they got too wet because they didn't have spare mittens or spare socks or something. And so we had to call the parents and basically upend the entire meeting because of this. He said, those are just dumb. Like, we're following all the distancing regulations, we're following all the sanitize your hands things and not share food and all that jazz. And masking up and, you name it. So he went ahead and approved the system we were using. But he also insisted that if we lent something to the kids, that we had to insist that their parents take that item home and wash it and bring it back in a Ziploc bag, upon which time our leader would take it and wash it and stick it in a vacuum seal bag again. So like it would get washed twice before we'd reloan it to anybody else. But I mean, that's the kind of over-prepared thing. Like, part of the reason I don't own a backpacking sleeping bag, aside from never really needing it because it's all been drive-in camps, is that I'd be overloading or overpacking anyways by having spare sleeping bags in the vehicle, because inevitably, I was working with one of the sections that inevitably they'd be young enough that either they'd, get sick because they don't eat the same camp food at home as they do here, so it was too rich, or it would be you gorged yourself on marshmallows and it all came back, or it would be like I got cold, so they messed the sleeping bag or whatever, like a bazillion different stories. So I'd have extra stuff in the vehicle, which would mean that I'd always be overpacking anyways. Therefore, the bulk level of my own gear didn't really matter. But now that I'm getting to be with these kids for whom we're going to be doing backpacking trips, like I'm going on my first official backpacking trip with them in July, and we're going to need to look at whether or not for that one trip we rent gear, because we don't have the nice squashy sleeping bags that go away. Exactly. So we don't have the squishy sleeping bags that are easy to pack and stuff like that. And we just hadn't invested in them because we didn't know if we would ever get into the activity enough to need them. But that's part of how I got cold, actually, was that given that we were supposed to be all self-contained as though we were backpacking and had to walk it in, then I went and did the whole minimize your gear to what you need, and so that you could carry it with the bulk I had. And unfortunately, that was not the best solution. So I should have gone heavy with layers. The one that we've got now, I think we're going about an hour and a half out of town, I think. I'm trying to remember. It's a provincial park near here. And it's the actual hike in from the site itself is in kilometers. It's only about 4 kilometers. So we're talking maybe at worst 4,500 yards, maybe at worst, from the parking lot. But you still have to carry it all yourself, right? And the idea is that, yeah, exactly. It's was it 1 point? Actually, it's the other way around. I think it's 1.2 miles to the kilometer, or the other way around. Let me. You know what I'm going to do? Just going to look it up. Give me a sec. Okay, so according to Google, 4 kilometers is 2.485 miles. So yeah, that's as far as it is from the parking lot. So I mean, I really don't have to worry about a lot of it. I mean, it's about an hour to an hour and a half max walking speed with these kids. But once again, it's the first backpacking trip, so if they enjoy themselves, there will be plenty more. Did I get all of the gray? Yeah, something like that. As I understand it, a lot of the running races are still measured in kilometers, even in the US. So, like, they'll do a 5K or a 10K running race, a road race or whatever. I think I've got all of the gray blocks on that one, so I'm going to need to figure out what to do about these black ones, because I'd be missing a bunch. I'm going to need more stairs. Let's just convert these big ones into small ones for now. Yeah, you wouldn't think it to look at me now, but I used to do 5 and 10Ks with my mom years ago, but I stopped because it wasn't actually that I don't like running, although I don't, but who does, really? But more that I actually find that I get shin splints. And some people say that that's the way you're running. It's like your form is terrible. But I'd actually even get like red all the way up through my thighs and stuff. And this is just not worth it. I'll do other activities instead. And for a long time I did. And then I just backed off and found gaming and streaming and loved it. And yeah. So that's another reason I'm looking at enjoying the backpacking more, because I really like the outdoors. And I've been on a few smaller backpacking trips when I was younger that I really liked, so hopefully we'll find that my youth like it. I'm pretty sure my daughter will when she gets old enough, but for my son, I really don't know. He's older, so he's the one going this weekend as the older section. It's not a backpacking trip this time, thankfully, but he'll be the one going with me in the summer. And we'll see. I'm thinking he's going to be less likely, but you never know. Different things for different people. His grandfather on that side would be quite the interested backpacker. His dad, not so much. So we'll just have to see. Yeah, I don't know how they have a stamina that I certainly don't have. Okay, so being as I'm out of the deep slate at the moment in that shape, I'll just skip for now and we'll move on and I'll come back to it. I just have to make sure I remember. Oh, I guess I can go get the slabs from the base, which I leave them here. Let's see what I did. Oh, I left them here. Excellent. I can put some of those in. That should help. And I think I had a couple stairs, so I can deal with that one. Then we'll just keep on going. Keep on climbing. Oops, wrong way. I'm getting more turned around because I turned off one of my add-ons that I thought I would. I had an add-on that locally cached a lot of the chunks so that I wouldn't have to load them every time. But the problem is that it cleans up its cache of the world every single time you quit the game. Which, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like leaving the actual Minecraft game running for months on end, just to not have the chunks get blocked. So it means that we'd see a big frame drop every time we go back and forth from here to the main base anyway, because of the schematic, and then the only difference would be that I wouldn't end up flying over nothing because things aren't loading. So I just decided it wasn't worth it and turned that one off. Oops. We'll see if it makes a difference, and I'll try it again after the schematic part is finished. It doesn't actually load the entities, so none of the ticking stuff would happen. Like if I left things smelting there or whatever, none of that would happen. It's not loaded in that sense, but pardon me. But it would be loaded in terms of visuals, so you wouldn't, like people say, fly into a mountain because the mountain didn't show up. Excuse me a second. Okay, I think
2, 4, 6, 8, everybody hydrate!
I'm using that for everybody to get a hydrate, partly because I need one too. Cheaty, but it works. And Krusty, if you're still there, just wanted to mention, I actually haven't had to eat carrots since you left. Just pure luck. So as soon as I do need to eat, that will definitely be for your redeem. If I don't before the end of the stream, I will return those points. Okay. Tea. Oh, ha ha ha. I guess I need to update. I forgot to update it this morning. Normally I drink coffee in the morning streams, and of late people just haven't been redeeming the hydrate, not even me, during the evening ones. So I just didn't bother updating it, but I really should. If I do a set hydrate now, it'll reset the quantities, so I'm not gonna mess with it. Kiss. This Kiss by Faith Hill, I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, Kiss Like a Rose by Seal. There's also the oldie Last Kiss. And what other songs? How many do we need? 4 songs with the word kiss in the title. Well, I mean, there's Kiss the Girl from the Disney movie Little Mermaid. And once again, I have to sleep. Oh! Okay. We're gonna go for a bit of a longer fly. I'm not landing in the middle of creepers and spiders. That's just a big old no-no. Oh, thanks. I wish I had made them. We actually had a Easter egg hunt on our server, and these were some of the freebies from our wonderful Easter egg hunt creator, Ross. Ross the boss. Oh, that's not what she calls it, but Ross, and she is very, very good at banners. Even if she has to once in a blue moon look them up, most of the time she can freehand these. So I am blown away. The brick pattern one always, like in both designs, it throws me because as far as I'm aware, I can't remember off the top of my head which pattern would give you that part. But I mean the rabbits, like rabbits and the sunflowers. The way that people layer the various pieces just blows my mind. I love it. And yeah, I hadn't decided, but I'm thinking if I have like a festival or something sort of theme in my base, at some point I may just go ahead and do copying. So ask her what the base color is for some of these, because they're not all clear. And then just do copies so I can Let's stick them all over. Because I think, what have we got? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, hey, I've got 7 buildings. Awesome. So I could actually theme each one of the buildings with one of those banners. Cool. I never thought about that. See, having friends really helps. Okay, so there we go. I can eat. Rah! Redeem covered. There we go. Yeah. At the moment, this one the librarian's standing in front of, that's where all the wool ended up after my farm, which I don't think you'd seen the farms. I'm just going to do a quick F4 on this one. Go fly over. So you may have been here when I was making a big sheep farm that was like up in this spot. I shrunk it, so the sheep farm ended up in here instead. You can see all the lovely little guys. And then beside it, we've got a coordinated cow pen. Nice natural manual cow pen for that one. And I did eventually get the... Yeah! I'm going to be using the hay that way, the hay bales that way a lot more this season. I know the buttons look a little dopey, but need to make them spawn-proof. And at the time, I didn't have a whole ton of string. I could probably go back and change it to string now, but I just one of those, you know, not super critical items. But yeah, I've got the wool. Oops, I was gonna say the wool comes out and then goes into the 2 chests, and then of course into one of the buildings. The other piece you hadn't seen was that I had given up on the mob farm, but then I did eventually build it after all. So it's through here. And initially it was like 2 levels, and it was really useless. So I expanded it, and now it's 10 levels tall. Different people who would say, you know, for, what do you call it? For efficiency of the farm, production-wise, I should have the water-going alternates, but then I can't actually fully shut the farm off. Whereas this way I've got it running so that if I actually shut the farm off, it just leaves the water running to guarantee no mobs through that. But it actually does produce enough. There's a couple of guys there. It does produce enough that I can get like rockets and stuff like that from time to time. So that's good, because I have enough that it's keeping me feeling like I can fly without being incredibly heavily producing, so that's quite nice. And it turned out I did not need to go all the way down and through the floor. I thought I was going to. I mean, I could still... This drop tower is a little bit short, which is why I kept the fire in the bottom. But I didn't actually end up needing to break through the floor and go all the way down, which is good because I never did get all of it lit up. I discovered, of course, that the more you light up, when it spawns mobs, it just means that they're more concentrated and in your face. So, yeah. But that's probably the latest there, other than the map itself, right? So we've got that, and then the these farms you can't really see from where I'm doing it. Let's see, last piece. This way, up, up, and over. So these ones have a tendency to unload and break as a result. But these 3 farms each have a villager inside, usually, when it's loaded. They must all be on the other side of the band. I didn't chunk align them. I should have, and I didn't. So my mistake, but it works well enough. So the villager harvests the wheat, and because their inventory is full, it falls on the ground. And then the wheat and the seeds go down into a sorting system. The wheat comes up into the chest you see here. The seeds end up in that chest over there. And that way I can grab those seeds and then compost them. So yeah. That's the uber quick tour. I figured that, Crafter Mama, that you might have been around for some of those pieces, but I wasn't fully sure, so there's the updates. And now that I see those buildings with the buttons on top, I'm gonna have to try the string. Ooh, whoops. I'm gonna have to try the string, just to see how it looks. And what was I here for? There was a reason. Oh, haha. The other funny thing about this is you can kind of see on the map, I've got a couple of wiggly little pink dots. And that's because even though even though I have tamed a bunch of cats and they're staying in the base, the stray cats come by, and then periodically the stray cats will leave me strings in really bizarre places. I don't know why they do, but that's okay. When I very first started, sadly, I was relying on those strings and the very rare spider I killed above ground for string, but now that I have the mob farm cooperating, I don't need to worry about it as much. I was having one of those while I'm over here moments, and I can't remember what I wanted. Probably wasn't critical, because I know I don't have any more deep slate anyway. You can see why loading it... No! This is part of why I would love to have it loaded more. I really should just make myself a shack over here. You know, or... Gee, Brainiac move. Just occurred to me. What a fool. I should probably, off-stream, take all of that mess and put it down in the middle of the cloister where the tree should be. I just let it grow and didn't think about it. But yeah, if I put it over there, then I won't be having these guys showing up within range of anything remotely interesting. So that's probably... Who invited the building inspectors? Jeez. Jeepers creepers. Okay. This one can go. Whoa. Uh-oh. The whole crew. You guys are not monks. Who let you be on the building? Building top. Okay, what do we got? Well, that's an interesting way to start winding down the stream is everybody and their dog showing up. You know what? If these guys don't shoot me, then I'm just gonna keep right on working. And we'll just see what those guys want. What are these? Okay, so I don't have that. Any more blue? Nope, no more blue. Let's go page up. The thing I find about the pillagers on the whole is generally if you don't bother them, then until they get too close, they don't bother you. So I'm hoping that that'll stay that way for today. But I do have a bucket of milk kicking around inside my ender chest if I need it. Because I certainly can't go back to my castle base. Come on. Certainly can't go back to the castle base if I tag the captain before I go. Ooh! Yeah, that's not fun. I have yet to survive a raid on my own. The only raid I've intentionally attempted, aside from like a safety, sorry, I should say, a heavily neutralized raid, like a raid farm, was I tried an open raid last season, and yeah, that was miserable. I had to get Zerk to, like, ZZ Zerk to come and rescue me. It wasn't just an oh help, it was the place is in absolute chaos. I'm not sure if I can shut this down. And I started getting into death loop after death loop after death loop. And so he just came and cleaned up the raid for me, and I felt like such a doofus. So, I'd rather not set off a raid at my base if I don't have to. Particularly when I'm the only one on the server. That could be less than optimal. On the other hand, I mean, if enough of my base survived, then I could start again and re-gear and whatever if I just chickened out and ran off. But yeah, that would be a story I couldn't live down all that easily. Guys, I am not bothering with you. Just leave me be. We don't need building inspectors, okay? We're not ready for the building inspectors. Do I have... I'm not carrying doors. Oh, lovely. So, can I get down to... I could fly right away, but I'm thinking if I can get over to where this mess is and see... Oh, there's not a lot of baddies there yet. Let's see if I can get down here before I get things showing up that want to kill me. Excellent. Made it. Oosh. We're making some progress. We're up to the second floor, which is nice. Would love those guys to despawn, but Bubs is just getting in from work, gonna chill and crash, enjoyed chatting. Well, thank you very much. I hope to see you again soon. Enjoy your evening. I will not be on tomorrow evening. My next evening slot is Tuesday, so have yourself a fantastic weekend if I don't see you before that. And we're just about to wind up here in 5 minutes or so ourselves. Always a pleasure to have our good friends drop by. There we go. I haven't made the beds yet, but I figured I would do that part later. Like, it's not critical to do it now. Let's see what we can get built. Now, what I didn't talk about, and I should have, and I'm quite remiss on this, is I said my evening stream was Tuesday. Technically, that's not correct. It blanked for a second. Just camp and whatever going on too much. When I get back on Sunday, I will be part of this weekend's Dadcraft 73 stream weekend. So, I'll be posting that information as soon as I have a cool little poster to go with it. Hopefully we'll have one soon, but we just have a lot of open slots, so I'm not sure who's going to be where. But we have some great names like ITT Tom, who hangs out quite a lot. Actually, I don't know if... Yeah, I think Tom's in there. And then we looked at Swanky Potato was looking at coming in. We may have our own fine Neon in there. That was still up in the air last I heard. But I will be doing that as much as I can. So my slot is after I get back from camp, and hopefully I won't be too fried from camp to be able to put on a good show. But yeah, looking forward to that. Feels weird walking through the blocks. And I realized I don't have to. Delenn, really? You're not saving rockets. I have a stone generator back at the base, so I'm not too fussed about all this extra stuff getting left behind. Hey, Scrublord, how are you doing?
Hello there.
I assume you just got home from work? Potentially pretty smelly? Just busy and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Nothing personal meant by it. Oh, I guess I should get some rockets before I end up not being able to fly. I unfortunately will be raiding out in about 5 minutes or so here. I have some short notice company for dinner this evening, and I want to be able to say hello. But just spend the last few minutes with my fine friends on the stream. It happens, yeah. Yep. Sometimes life throws you a curveball. But, so I'm looking forward to doing this weekend and hanging out with everybody as much as we can. And so you can guess what I'm going to be working on. No major surprises there. Oops. I need a square one for that one? Yeah. Aw. Nuts! Since I'm short on that stuff anyways. Oh well. But the more we can get built of this place, the sooner we can get things moved. Thank you. Or should I say people moved? I'm not sure yet how I'm going to get everybody across because I have not yet designed the bridge. So that's a bit of a miss on my part. So it's going to be interesting to try and see how I'm going to get people across from one side to the other. For sure not a monastery. Now I'm just kind of curious, what is it that... what is it makes you say that? Just kind of curious. Yeah, I don't think I'll get all of this thing done before Sunday. Probably not, but hey, we do what we can, right? So I've got tomorrow morning, and I don't think I'm gonna run, well, I say morning, but you know, Eastern people. Tomorrow early afternoon for you fine folks. So we've got the Eastern people, yeah, in English. Delen's just not thinking today. Okay, there we go. But I've got that, and I don't know how long I'm going to run tomorrow. I have to actually figure out what I'm going to do for packing for camp, because I haven't even started my own packing yet. Need to check and see whether or not I need to do laundry and all that jazz. The kids, thankfully, don't have to worry about their laundry at the moment, because Fantastic Shock Fox was an amazing person and was on top of that. But we don't do combined laundry in our house, and I wouldn't ask him to do my laundry anyways, just because I'm not very good with laundry. I am the one who would put everything in the load and everything in the washer all at the same temperature. You know, I'm that person. Which means that, yeah. I'm an offense to laundry. How's that? Wash and wear is a concept that I really like, but my wash and wear is, do you think people will mind if I have that many wrinkles? So people say, what was the word we call it? Shook laundry? I think was the conversation that was being had recently. It was about shook laundry. So basically it's wash and wear. You can just pull out of the laundry, shake it, and it's good to go. Yeah. I don't think I ever grew out of the college attitude where you can just live your day out of your laundry basket. But that's just... It was something with the mental health trick somebody told me once. You do the things that are important to you, and you kind of say, forget it. Oh, come on. Thank you. There we go. But you kind of say forget it over the things that aren't really that big of a deal. And I decided that my own personal laundry folding, since I don't tend to go out much at all, people usually don't see me, then for the few times they do see me, they can just deal with a few wrinkles. I mean, come on, I'm getting older, there's going to be wrinkles elsewhere too. But things for like Easter weekend and stuff, I did try to pick stuff that didn't have tons of wrinkles in it. But yeah, I'm a laundry nightmare. That's why I wouldn't ask Fantastic Shock Fox to do it, especially not my camp clothes, because they're usually the kinds of things that it's a toss-up as to whether or not they'd be good to put in the laundry. When you go camping, all the wisdom says don't wear cottons and so on because they're, you know, they hold your sweat and you don't stay warm and all this sort of stuff. The problem is, unless you're willing to wear wool, which is frequently heavy, then the wisdom ends up being that you're going to wear a lot of synthetics, and synthetics and heat don't go well together. So, yeah. That's, you know, one of the side effects, but the kids are good to go, which is the important part. Besides, we're not doing a whole bunch of running around in the bush at a lake anyways, which means that nobody's going to be seeing a few wrinkles here and there. Oh, come on. Not that. This one. Lock, please. Thank you. Hey, we're making progress. It's starting to look like something. Kind of, sort of, maybe. Okay, so I've broken the top of the hour. So I'm just going to one more thing myself to death here, and you know what? Let's just get this one piece right here, just because it happens to be right there. I'm standing there. I will finish off. Ow. Really dropping in a hole. This is as good a spot as any. So we're going to finish off. Actually, let's do it this way. F4. Boop. There we go. So we're going to finish off and note that we are making progress on the... Wow, I like that shot actually. Making progress on the building. We're getting somewhere. We've got more to do yet, but this may be what we're working on over the weekend. So thank you very, very much for dropping by to everybody. Thank you very much to Scrublord for dropping in at the very end there. I'm just going to see who else is live, because Wednesday seems to be a bit of an inconsistent listing on who's around and who's not. Take a quick look and see what we can find. Let's see. What are we watching? You know what? I think we're going to... I'm not usually one for showing co-op, but I think I'm going to go to Zero, because he's usually pretty responsive to the chat. That's part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of raiding into co-op streams, is just that they're not always great chatters. But I'm going to do so tonight, and we are going to go visit our fine friend Zero. So let's get that raid started, and then we'll say our final thank yous.
Mischief managed.
Alright, so you can see the raid message down below with the horns and the sheep, or else the raid pickaxe. I want to say thank you very much to Fantastic Sherlock Fox for dropping by, for Craftin' Mama and Carnage Joe as well as Neon Traveler, Scrublord, and our new friend Krusty Manuel. Interesting. So thank you everybody that came by. Do give Zero our best. I will drop in and say hello, but then I will need to slip out afterwards. And I will hopefully see you guys again later this evening. But as far as on stream goes, I will be back again tomorrow noon Eastern. And until then, have yourselves a fantastic evening. Bye-bye for now.
Transfer complete.